What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss if Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order is the game of the year. Now, it's tough. It's tough to talk about game of the year candidates. It's tough to talk about what is game of the year. Everybody's got different opinions. And for the case of this video, it's kind of twofold. It's, there's obviously the Game Awards, and there's numerous media outlets that, of course, do their, Game of the Year awards at the end of the year in December. IGN, GameSpot. There'll be so many. Basically, any gaming channel in general, even maybe on YouTube, multiple channels would do it, and they would talk about it. And it also goes based off of you guys, people, general gamers that played the game. What is the best game that came out this year? And obviously, it's different for every single person, right? Because everybody's going to have different interests. And we talked about it a lot. We talked about it even in yesterday's video of is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order the best Star Wars game? And I ultimately said no. Spoilers for that video. I said no, that it's not, but it's very, very good. It's definitely one of the top games. I just don't think it beats the absolute best Star Wars games we've ever gotten. And for the game of the year, it's a little bit of the same. I feel like it slightly has a little bit more of a heads up for that one, though, that it maybe stands a bigger chance. Just in my own personal opinion, again, what I've talked about with this game is that it did everything we could have hoped for, right? It pushed forward the single player's story-driven kind of game. It's got the themes of some of the best games that came out this generation of Uncharted 4, even the Tomb Raider games that have really solid mechanics to them. God of War, the game, it's got all of those kind of feel to it. It's really makes you feel like you can hold a lightsaber and just everything that kind of comes with that, using the Force. The story is decent. It's not amazing. The game doesn't exactly hold up under its own weight. Like I said yesterday or the day before his video, the game can't always handle how amazing it's trying to be, right? With clipping and frame rate issues and a lot of other just technical stuff, the game doesn't exactly hold up there. And it just in general, it's not the most perfect game in the world, especially when it comes to storytelling and what you're actually doing in the game. But it's a very, very good game. And you see all over the internet, once those embargoes lifted for this game, lots of people said, you know what, this is my game of the year, or this is 100% a game of the year contender. And I agree. Now, the problem with me, to tell you my own personal, where I would put game of the year, it's tough because I don't beat games. I have a severe problem in that, and it's half of it, I would say, is because I just really can't get through a game. I can't see a game to its finish. On the other hand, though, it's also just because of what I do. Having this channel, making all of these videos with all of these different kinds of mediums of not just games, but movies and television, I don't always have time. And also having a family, having a fiance, having a daughter, I don't have time to beat every single game. And when a lot of games that come out are 30, 40, 50 plus hours to beat, I mean, I really just can't beat them or get from start to finish with all of them. So, in my own personal opinion, I really do actually feel like Jedi Fallen Order is second or third on my Game of the Year list. Right now, I would say, and this could anger a lot of people, I'd say Death Stranding right now is my favorite game, is my Game of the Year. And I know a lot of people I've seen on the internet, a lot of people have said, if you've played through this game from start to finish, and you've actually played it, you have the controller and you're doing it, I think it's going to be your game of the year because it's just something special. Not a lot of people will do that. The game takes 5 to 10 hours to pick up. I'm not here to talk about Death Stranding, though. I'm here to just say, I think that would be my favorite game right now. I do agree with those opinions, by the way, that the game just continues to get more and more phenomenal. Jedi Fallen Order stands a major, especially in gaming outlets, a major chance because if you think about it, 2019 wasn't very strong. We had a lot of disappointments this year. We had a lot of games that kind of were supposed to be something and they really kind of, not necessarily flopped, but they just didn't become what they were set out to be. Again, I think this video is probably just gonna anger a lot of different fandoms, but it's just my opinion. I'm just going based off what I think. If you guys don't agree, that's totally cool. But games like Kingdom Hearts 3, which I played, Tyler and I made multiple videos on the show. We had a community series. We did so many videos. Kingdom Hearts. We love those games. We love Kingdom Hearts 3 in a way. The game itself, though, pretty darn disappointing. Didn't really live up to expectations. Days Gone. I think that's a really high-profile PS4 game. It came out. I like it. That's it. Okay, I think it's a solid game. I don't think it's an amazing game. So you got that game. It didn't really live up to expectations. Maybe Mortal Kombat 11 to the fighting community. That game's pretty solid overall, but is that really game of the year? Gears 5. Gears 5 is a really solid game, a great game, but it's not amazing. It's not the greatest thing we've ever played. Borderlands, I think a lot of people really love Borderlands, but it does have a lot of problems. So you see what I'm doing? I'm just going through. I mean, there's a lot of games that did come out this year, a lot of high-profile games, but Call of Duty, Outer Worlds, all of them did have some problems. And Jedi Fallen Order, by the way, is no different. Like, this is not a flawless game, and none of those games are flawless either, but I feel like it really should be in contention. I feel like this was the year of Nintendo, by the way. And if you notice, I didn't say a couple other games. Super Mario Maker 2, phenomenal game. Fire Emblem. I think if people played Fire Emblem, now I haven't, so I don't even, you could look at me and say that I'm kind of like a phony for saying this, but from what I've seen, it really does seem like if you're into that kind of game franchise, that kind of just medium of video games, and you played Fire Emblem Three Houses, it would probably be your game of the year. And same like Mario Maker 2, I thought was a phenomenal game. Crash Team Racing is a solid game. But again, like I'm kind of just running through every game that came out this year to make the point of like this wasn't a strong year. There wasn't like 3, 4, 5 like these games are absolutely like they just destroyed everything. You look at even last year, we had games like Spider-Man, Red Dead 2, and God of War. Just to name a few. I'm sure there's more that I'm not thinking of, but there's 3 right there that you look at and you say those were all, you could argue, game of the year. They were all amazing. 2 of them were from Sony. Again, I'm sure I could think of more. And Red Dead, obviously, from Rockstar came out and just was phenomenal. We didn't have that, really, this year. Again, Sony, like, they kind of just went with Days Gone. They didn't have The Last of Us. Microsoft actually did show up. They had Crackdown, which they would pretend that never happened. But they had Gears, which is solid. But it's not, like, the greatest thing in the world, right? So this wasn't the year of the... And only for Microsoft and Sony. This wasn't the year of them dominating with exclusives. And honestly, that's just because they're getting ready for next gen, right? We have games like The Last of Us, even Ghost of Tsushima, but a lot of games are coming out, there's not that many games coming out in 2020 exclusively for those consoles because we're moving into next gen. Nintendo really was the company that just destroyed it this year. So even like Marvel Ultimate Alliance, I really like that game. I don't think that game is even close to Game of the Year, but I think that game is really solid. So there were a lot of solid games this year. There were a lot of games that were good, like and the year was filled with games. Like Jump Force came out this year. Again, I sometimes forget Kingdom Hearts 3 even did release this year, but there was a lot. There's a lot of games. Rage 2, Metro Exodus. There's a lot of video games that released this year, but I feel like they kind of just fall in that medium, like that middling range, right? There wasn't a lot of massive standouts, and I do feel like for every massive standout, there seems to be like a force on the other side pointing out things against it. I really do feel like that. Death Stranding is one of those. Death Stranding, I feel like you have the huge love for the game, but there's also a heavy pushback of why the game is terrible. Pokemon is maybe the only other one that Pokemon came out. I think, for its problems and for people getting mad at what's not included, I think for what is included and what the game does have, it's a really good game, and I think people recognize that. I think that'll probably be a Game of the Year contender pretty easily as well. Again, because of just what we got from the game, it's a Pokemon game. And, again, it being a Pokemon game from Nintendo, that definitely helps. That'll automatically boost things just to begin with, whether or not it deserves it. But that's definitely one as well. So you have Pokemon. I feel like that's a big one. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, I mean, I don't see too many people saying, like, this game is garbage. I think even the lowest opinion of this game is that it's solid. And then the greatest opinion of this game is, like, wow, like, I can't believe they hit it out of the ballpark, right? Again, I don't think it's a perfect game. I think it's a really, really good game that I'm loving. I'm absolutely loving Jedi Fallen Order. I would put it right up there with Game of the Year. If I had to do Game of the Year right now, I'd say Death Stranding, and I'd probably put Star Wars at number 2. Again, I haven't even played through a lot of games. I also haven't played a lot of games that came out in general this year. So it's tough. It's a lot tougher to give an opinion, I'm sure. But it's also a question to you guys. What do you think is your Game of the Year? Do you think Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order could be it? Do you think it should be a contender at the least? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel Podcast Now. Hit that bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you so much for watching all of these Jedi Fallen Order videos. I've really, really enjoyed making it. I hope to see you guys on all future videos.